making art and illustrations started?
Well, I've been drawing my whole life, literally as far back as I can remember. I can't remember a time where I didn't draw or make things. Some of my earliest memories of drawing was when I was probably 3 years old, and my dad would bring home big sheets of poster board from work. And at the time, when I was little, I was really into Halloween, haunted house type
Wow.
imagery. So I would just draw um little like haunted houses and tombstones and things like that. My mom was a little concerned initially, but then I had my bird phase. I got real into birds, so I drew all the different kinds because I had the Audubon books. So I memorized the different species. I would try to draw them and whatnot. So yeah, I always had some kind of fixation or thing to draw. Oh, it just feels right. I know that's a maybe not a super interesting answer, but like I said, it's something I've been doing my whole life. It's just kind of come to me, and I don't know. I enjoy it. It's a great way to express your ideas and yourself. I think every artist can relate to the need to uh, when they have something in their head and they just need to get it out, but you want to get it out there in the way you see it in your head. That's something all artists struggle with. And to get your ideas out there the way you see them in your head, you're like, no, 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 you don't get it. You don't get it. It should look like this. And that's just why we constantly try to better ourselves. And yeah, that's what we're always working on. And we're never quite satisfied, but it's a fun thing. Well, the style of the Emmy comics is obviously influenced by animation and comics in general, but specifically, I kind of refer to Emmy's art style as a marriage between, Disney, classic Disney 2D era animation style with UPA style from the 40s and 50s and 60s. UPA, for those who don't know, stands for United Production Artists, and it was I hope I'm getting that right. It's been a while. But UPA was a style of cartoons that originated in the late 40s to kind of break away from the studio system. They had very limited time and budgets, so they had to go for a much more graphic, stylized approach. So the characters and backgrounds are more abstract. They're not as fully illustrated as, say, a classic Disney short. UPA shorts have kind of an impressionistic feel to them. Some of the famous ones are like Madeline or Madeline, however you pronounce it.
Mhm.
Um, Gerald McBoyne Boyne, a lot of the cartoons that came later out of that era, like Mr. Magoo and Dick Tracy and things like that. I watched those when I was young, so those influenced the style. Those influenced a lot of the cartoons that we grew up with on Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon. If you watched like Fairly Odd Parents or Dexter's Lab, for example, those borrow a lot from UPA aesthetics.
So I want to talk about Emmy the Robot.
Mhm.
I read it and I loved it. I
Good.
think it should be a movie, in my opinion.
That
Um,
maybe someday. Yeah.
yeah, but about Emmy, can you tell me about her,
Oh,
like
well,
a
like the
character?
character?
Yes.
Well, Emmy is first and foremost, I mean, she is a perfectionist. Emmy is um I came up with Emmy as the idea of the perfect robot in a way. That's sort of thematically what's important here. Emmy is, uh, in some ways, I can be a bit of a perfectionist too. There's definitely a little bit of me in Emmy. When I think of Emmy, I think of um, kids I had honors English classes with, the kind of kids who would be distraught if they had a B. I wasn't one of those kids. I was happy to get a B. Class is hard. But
Yeah.
Emmy loves humans. She loves nothing more than to please and make people happy, almost to her own detriment. as we will, see and have seen. Emmy has some naive ideas about the world. She is very intelligent, of course, but is inexperienced. She is, like I said, naive about the nuance and sometimes contradictory nature of human relationships, of the real world. Like you would expect a robot to be, she's a logical thinker. So she thinks, well, as long as you do things the correct way, the polite way, and you do everything right, everything should work out. But as we know in real life, sometimes things just don't work like that. You could be nice to everyone, and sometimes there's someone who just doesn't like you, things like that.
I also saw you made a book, 21 Terrifying Monsters. Do I say that right?
Yes, that's right. That's correct.
What's that book about?
Oh gosh, so that was my first children's book, and it was sort of, I don't want to say it was practice, certainly. It was definitely not, but it was sort of me. I said, you know what? I got all these little guys. Like I said, I love to draw silly little guys. That's one of the pleasures of being an artist. And I thought, let me put them together in this book. And I was really inspired by books like Shel Silverstein's stories. I don't know if you know his, but like A Light in the Attic
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
um, what's the other one? Where the Sidewalk Ends. Those collections of really funny, sometimes a little bit creepy poems. I loved those as a kid, and uh, I wrote the little book thinking about the books when I was like in first and second grade when it was reading time. I'm thinking, what are the funny books that kids like really fought over? Like the ones like, oh, I wanted that book, and that's what it was. It's a book about neuroses, manners, and all kinds of various little ways in life that people can be terrorized. It's not always just the big scary stuff. Sometimes it's someone who won't stop talking. It's someone who talks too loud. Sometimes it's somebody who chews with their mouth open all the time, and it's really gross sitting next to them. These are the things that when you're a kid, you realize about people, and you realize, gosh, if there was a monster that did this thing that really got on my nerves, this would be hard to deal with.
What are your plans like for the future? Do we get to see more work, other stories, books? Do we have plans?
Well, Emmy is my primary focus right now. uh, Hoping to be able to soon pivot to doing Emmy full time if I'm able to. And if I can, then yeah, we will be seeing a lot more of Emmy. And I want to give the people what they want. I think people are going to be eager to see her story. I think people, if they see me suddenly start working on something else, they'll be like, well, what's going to happen to her? So I don't want to leave people hanging. I definitely want to conclude her story or at least have something in progress with that. But I would love to continue to tell different stories after Emmys is over. Yeah. Maybe do more comics, maybe cartoons, who knows? Like I said earlier in the interview, nothing's for sure. You never know where things will lead you.